what we're notably looking for is, you know, our younger guys that have earned opportunities and chances, can they run with it? Can they push themselves to play in more exhibition games? Can they assert themselves on the training sessions that are going to start here today, in addition to the exhibition games that they get? And especially as the lineups get better and the games get harder as it goes, can they continue to maintain their level? If they continue to push all the way and it's very clear that they should be on the team, then they'll make the team, and we'll deal with whatever the ripple effects of those are on some of the more veteran guys. The message to the veteran guys is that with where we're at, the young guys are coming. They're going to get opportunity. They're going to have to earn everything. But it's been very clear to them what the expectation is, and it's up to them to hold on to their jobs and hold on to their spots and their places with the Penguins and in the NHL. With regards to my expectations for the season, the way that I kind of look at it is, you know, I try to say if we sat here at this time next year, at the end of the year, what would I want for you all to think and have be very clearly, and for me, what would be important is that if we were here a year from now or 9 months from now, it's been just very clear to everybody that the foundation that Dan and his staff are going to set in terms of training, competitiveness, the way that we play, that's going to begin to form today, day one on the ice, has taken hold throughout the whole 82-game season and hopefully beyond. And it's very clear to everyone that this team is on the right path to getting back to contending. How soon that happens will be up to the players and all of us collectively in terms of player acquisition, coaching, the way that our players develop and play. That to us would be a successful year, and just that it's more clear to everybody that we are definitely on the path back to being a contending team. I have resisted coming in here and saying that it's going to take X amount of years. I continue to use the word urgency, and why I think that is that I think if you come and put a timeline on it, it gives me and maybe others in the organization a bit of cover and time that, it's going to take 3 years or 5 years or 7 years to get us back there. Our push is to get back there as soon as we possibly can. Today is our first day moving towards that, with Dan and his staff taking control. So on that, I will turn it over to everyone for questions.
Kyle, in the spring you talked about the goaltending position and that you wanted to see, just for lack of a better term, I guess, an open competition. Mm-hmm. With Alex leaving and Artur's arriving, has that plan changed at all? And how much so contractual obligations, i.e. who needs clear waivers, whatever, plays a role into that?
I think it's just it's a simple swap out. And it's the same message as it was in April when we talked about it last. And we have two young goalies who have extremely high potential in Joel Blomqvist and Sergei Murashov. I think everyone has seen it at times, whether it's been in the American League or whether it's been up here, Joel's case. And we have Tristan and Arturs that are a little bit older, a little bit more advanced. Arturs has had, you know, the ultimate success at the minor league level, winning a championship and being the MVP. So, but all that said, they'll start competing here today, and the best two goalies, that the way that they perform in camp and we deem is best for their development, but notably the way that they perform in camp and preseason will determine who the two goalies are that start with the Penguins. Their contract situations, none of that matters.
Kyle, I'm going to get this out of the way now. Pat Brisson made a couple of comments recently that got a lot of attention around here, as I know you're aware. Is there any kind of concern that the way you're building the team and the pace at which you're building the team is not on the same page as, you know, not necessarily Sid, but also his representatives? And does that make your job harder? Is it an issue for you?
I have a friend that reminded me shortly after that, and reminds me often, who operates in a different sport, but he'll often say that shortcuts cut long run short, and regardless of what the perceptions, I didn't take from Pat's comments that he necessarily disagrees with where we're at. I talk to Pat daily, not twice daily, about all of his clients on our team, which they have plenty, and other goings on throughout the league. I think he's entitled to make whatever comments he wishes, but all that said, we can't alter the course that we're on, which is to bring the team back into a team that can contend for the Stanley Cup year in and year out, because of what different media members may want, where they may want to see Sid play, different things of that nature. We have to focus on doing what's right for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and regardless of any sort of commentary or things that are said in the media, we can't change that. So this is our sole focus. I knew when signing up for the job this was likely going to be a part of it, and it doesn't deter us from the task at hand.
Another goaltending question. Over the weekend, there was a report that you were one of the teams that inquired about Carter Hart. Is that accurate? And if so, what's the thought process there?
No, we haven't made any inquiries. I haven't talked to Judd Moldaver about Carter Hart. So I think with any players that are available, with where we're at, especially in camp, in that case especially, there's still a suspension needs to be served or run out for another month or so. And we haven't dug deep into the facts of the matter other than following along in the media to the trial and its outcome and so on and so forth. But if you know, so it'd be foolish for me, I think, to comment now. But thanks.
There seemed to be a lack of movement this summer just on the trade front across the league. Do you think there's any explanation for that looking ahead to next season with the cap going up and maybe just the draft and everything next season?
I can only speak to our 2 off seasons, which is, you know, when we made the 2 trades in middle July with Vancouver and then with Dallas, the commentary from other people throughout the league was it just doesn't seem like anything's going on. I think the increase in the salary cap from last year to this year, which is the first year it really took a significant bump since COVID, played an impact in the fact that there just wasn't the necessity to make a lot of deals. Last year, we were involved, I think, in 3 deals in mid to late August, and I think that may set what the level of expectation was, but there just wasn't a massive amount. I think part of it is to do with salary cap, part of it going up, part of it is to do with other teams taking care of their RFAs due to last year's offer sheet situation between St. Louis and Edmonton. But I just think in the next number of years, you've got a salary cap projected to go up. They've also outlined exactly what it's going to be, so it's better. It makes it easier to plan. And so I think all of that just combines to create what was I think for everybody in the league, and especially I could imagine for you all in here, probably not the most exciting August, but we'll get ramped up today and see where it goes.
Kyle, when you talk about urgency to get back to contention, what is on your short list? What do you think you're missing and need to acquire to get from here to there?
Well, I think it's mostly there's 2 things I would say. It's continuing to acquire young players through the draft or using our draft capital when those situations present themselves. And then it's really developing our younger guys that are going to form the core of the group. Some of them are going to be drafted. Some of them are going to be unsigned free agents, like Avery Hayes type, for example. Others are going to be later round picks that come in surprise, and there's a number of them that are here now. But I think that you know, our commitment to development across the whole organization is going to be the key, Dan. And then any time we have a chance at any position to improve ourselves, we're going to do that. And so I don't think we're perfect or near perfect or anywhere close to where we want to be at any of the 3 positions, or 4 if you want to separate center and wing. So I think that's our key. And then the other part would be just Dan and his staff more deeply integrating the developmental part in and everything that we've talked about on that front to really expedite that. And what we want to really become here is, you know, we want, and I know that they're not the biggest names, but the players that we sign in free agency, for example. So you get, whether you take Anthony Mantha, Raphael Harvey-Pinard, Caleb Jones, Parker Weatherspoon, that we're looked at as the place that if you're a player that hasn't gotten the opportunity you think you deserve, or you're coming off injury, that we're the place that you know that we're going to get the most out of you. We have to earn that. We're not close to that at all. There are other teams in the league do a great job of that, but that's what we really want to become and stay there for a very long time.
Kyle, you told us at the end of spring that Erik Karlsson was a guy you thought was going to be someone to help this team back into contention. Mm-hmm. Just a couple months later, as the new season approaches, do you still view Erik in that light? And just what are your expectations for him heading into a new season under a new coach and staff?
Nothing has changed in my opinion about Erik. I think he's in excellent condition. For me, I think Erik's an extraordinarily proud person, and I think he comes into the year with a lot to play for. Both reputationally himself, but also I think more importantly, wasn't named to the Swedish Olympic first 6 and that's a very important item for him. And so I think you'll see him, he just has a huge amount of incentive this season. He's going to want to win before he retires, and he's going to want to play at the highest level of best-on-best hockey available. He's right in that kind of sweet spot of guys that were, between 2014 and 2026, that have their whole prime of their careers been, they've missed that best-on-best situation. And so I think the way that he played last year at Four Nations is any indication. We'll see a great version of Erik this year. So we're excited about that.
Hey, Kyle. In the off season, as there often is, there was chatter about a few of your players. I know you talked about like Brian Rust in particular, Raquel, you just mentioned Karlsson. Now that the season is here, I mean, do you anticipate kind of standing pat for a while with all your players who could potentially in trade now that you're here, or is it kind of open-ended? Like, where does things stand on that front going forward?
I think, Matt, with where we're at, we have to always look every single day at what's best for the organization. So we're not in a spot where we're coming off, being deep into the playoffs in consecutive years. The team's missed the playoffs for 3 years, and the job is to return us there. So regardless of what that creates on the rumor front or anything like that, we're always looking for ways that can help propel the team back to where we want it to get to. So that work doesn't really stop. There's been tons of discussions on a lot of our guys throughout the summer, but we also aren't just going to make deals to offload very key and important people in the organization and that have given a lot to the organization in their time. So we have to, if the right return is there, we would look at anything. And in the meantime, we're going to do everything we can to get the most out of those guys. And we talk, all three of them have a huge amount to play for. I mean, the Olympics are, I know, perhaps locally on September 18th. They aren't a major, it's not a massive deal, but I think for those three players in particular that you mentioned, plus others on our roster, it's they all want to be there, they all want to play in it, and I think that provides us the opportunity to really push them forward and continue to preserve where they're at as they continue to age, but also try to find another level for them that can help them be on those national teams.
Hey, Kyle, obviously a new team, new coach. What do you expect from this team when it hits the ice to start the season?
I expect, I think Dan and the staff, I mean, they've been at it essentially all day for the last several weeks, and in Dan's case, and I mean together. I think throughout the summer, every coaching staff works, but they've been here, and Dan is here before 6, and he's here after 10. He's working to instill the foundation that's going to set our team up for success for a long time. And when hiring him, the key for me was that he could best help to lead this transition through this time, where I think we're coming into the season, and there isn't the expectation that we're going to contend externally, and he's helping to get us there, and then he's the person that can keep us there once we're there. So I just think for me, what I want to see from us is the habits and the foundation of what he's putting in. You'll start to see it today on the ice in terms of how hard we play, how competitive we are, that the ability to be agile in the systems and way that we play, not just playing one way or another. And I think, as I said in the opening, what I'm hopeful for and what would be a successful year is that everybody, not just me or the players at the end of the season, looks and says, the way that we play is helping us to get back towards being a contending team. And I think most importantly for our fans and for you all, that every night our effort is at an elite level. We don't have the weeks long dips, and that we make the people Pittsburgh proud every night that we play with how we play and how hard we play and how we play for one another.
Kyle, a few months ago, you were asked about Evgeni Malkin and his future. You said that you plan to circle back with him at the Olympic break and then after the season. But just with training camp coming up, have you gotten any more indication on where he may stand as far as maybe wanting to play past this year or not?
He's in a great mood every day, funnier than ever, because you see from his videos that Jen and her staff have put out. No change on that front. I spoke with him and JP in the summer when stuff started to percolate and bubble there, and then but it's the same. He's at that time in every one of their careers. I'll sit when time permits. And the Olympic break provides a key opportunity for that, and then we'll we'll address where he's at, but I expect him to have a great season, and excited to see him back out there rolling.
Hey, Kyle. Similar to Josh's question, a lot of chatter externally about ownership change, a potential ownership change. Did that impact you? I'm not expecting you to talk about that specifically, but did it impact your dealings at all this offseason?
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, no, it didn't impact the dealings. Obviously, it's something that takes up a lot of bandwidth internally, very openly. The way that I've come to view the ownership stuff is that, for me, obviously, when after situation ended in Toronto, in making the decision of where to go next, ownership and who owns the team was vitally important. Where I've come to land since is that you really, the ownership is important, but what's more important, I think, is where you work and who you work with. And I just think in the 2+ years that we've been here, we've really come to love the city and love the area, and we've really come to love the people internally, and that make the machine run every single day. And that's really who you do it for. Having supportive owners is always important, and having them have a very clear direction that they want you to go down is important, and we've still received that from Fenway. That hasn't changed. And so for me, the focus is more on who we do it with every day and where we do it, and that's what we're trying to deliver for. We're trying to bring the team back to a spot where the people, it's such a great sports city. That's what we found in the 2+ years here, and it's such a great community. And so we just want to deliver for that, and whatever happens on that front will happen, and then we'll just continue to move ahead with our plan.
Good morning, Kyle.
Morning, Dan.
Last week, the team announced that Marc-Andre Fleury would return to Pittsburgh for a practice and a portion of an exhibition game next Saturday. Can you expand a little bit more, and I know you issued an initial statement, the thought process behind that and why it is so important to have him come back for a game wearing Penguins black and gold?
I think the thought process started last October. For me, just seeing the amount of love that the fans have for Marc-Andre, and then his enthusiasm in return for the city of Pittsburgh, and then being with him in Stockholm at the Worlds, I think you just begin to see the impact he has on everybody. And that was last October, and the thought process was in talking to the folks internally that I just thought it would be a great idea and for him to be able to kind of have this full circle moment and allow the fans the chance to properly salute him in a Penguins uniform rather than a different uniform. I think we could spend here all day talking about the impact he makes on a daily basis, but also the success he's had, and one of the most memorable saves probably in the history of hockey to help the team win in Game 7 in Detroit at the very end. I just think that when we were talking about a lot of like the short-term, frankly, issues and matters and challenges, and I think especially what I've learned in a city like this, that just values their sports teams and the players that really bring special moments to the team. Having a chance to do something like this for Marc-Andre, but also for the fans, became something that was important to us. And I think you see the work that's been done on the Hall of Fame throughout the summer by Jen and Jason Seidling and everybody internally to make that happen. And there's such a great history here, and part of for us is educating our younger group of players on that. So now Mark's going to have a chance, 2 days to be around Tristan and Artur Silovs and Joel Blomqvist and Sergei Miroshov and Philip Larson. And I don't know how to calculate the value of that, but I observed his impact on the younger players at the Worlds, and it was immense. And that was in 2 weeks, and he played half the games, and he's just awesome. I don't know any other way to put it. And so it should be a special night and opportunity. We're educating our younger players that come in. You take it for granted a little bit. Like some of the kids don't even know what the office is. Like the TV show. So like you don't know what they were watching in 2016 and 17, if anything. I know I felt old when they didn't know what Seinfeld was, and I felt really old when they didn't know what The Office was. So, but it's just educating them on what's made the Penguins great in the past. And Marc-Andre Fleury, you can't talk about that without Marc-Andre Fleury. So it'll be and he of course has done a really great job of the photo, his PTO signing and such. So anyway, it's a chance for us to allow the fans to properly salute a very important figure in the team's history one final time in a Penguins uniform. It's a chance for him to feel that love one more time, and it's a chance, as I look at it, for our younger group to learn from him. So.
Kyle, sort of referencing Josh's question, you mentioned not taking any shortcuts as you go through this process. But what's your level of confidence that you guys can get to that destination of being a consistently contending team while Sid is still Sid?
Well, there's two parts to the answer. The first is I wouldn't put any timeline on Sid stopping being himself. I just think you see the amount of work he puts into it every day. I think people tend to take the contract length of any player and say it's got to be by this stage or within that time frame. In his case, I think I'll borrow Pat's example of Tom Brady. That's the one that I think has kind of caused this to go to an off-ramp that no one wants to really go to. But he's a player that if he played to that age at that level, it wouldn't be surprising. He would downplay it, but I don't think anybody else would be surprised if we're years from now and he's still playing at an elite level. There's nobody that puts as much into it as he does. I know he wants to have the team be in the playoffs, as he said in his availability, and our job is to we have to be in the playoffs to get to where we want to get to. So that's part of the checklist. And so I wouldn't put a timeline on him. And do I think that we can execute what we want to within that timeline? Yes, I do. It just if we try to short circuit it, we can probably get to a very not very high up the mountain that we're trying to climb, and then that would be disappointing for everybody. So it's just making sure that we're following those steps, and we won't veer from that at all.
Early in the summer, you talked about potentially extending offer sheets or going after other teams' RFAs. Is that something you ever came close to doing, or just what happened there?
Yeah, part of the offer sheet thing, Taylor, is I think when you do it, you have to, there's the cost of it, and then there's once they're an RFA, you can talk to the agent, you can find out this is what they would sign for, and there was just no real conversation that we didn't feel that the value was there to check off both boxes. So it's what they would sign for in an offer sheet, and then two, would the other team be able to match that or not? So what's the salary cap situation? What's their temperament towards the player? There just weren't any fits that we felt were realistic, and just to have it be an exercise which causes 7 days of, it would be great for everybody in here because you'd have 7 days of wonderment and trying to figure out are they going to match or not. But there were just no cases that felt really close. There's still a few players left unsigned now, but I don't sense that their offer sheet that there are any imminent offer sheets on any of them. No. Thanks, Kyle. Okay, thanks.